Hello and welcome back to the Life Beyond Limits podcast. This week I'm joined by Deasha, who runs a very successful social media business, helping small businesses scale to 6 and 7 figures using organic social media strategies. But for years, fear had stopped her from going all in on her business, so she dabbled on the side while working for others and traveling around the world. It wasn't until her side hustle business started making more money for her than her full-time job that she felt confident enough to take the plunge and to go all in. Her business has now gone from strength to strength, and as a result, her confidence is growing massively too. Today, Deasha is going to share the impacts self-doubt had on her and how she managed to finally trust in herself, her abilities, and her success. So welcome, Deasha. It's lovely to have you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm excited about this one because I can totally relate to your story on so many different levels. The traveling one for one, but this underlying fear of really fully committing and going all in on a business, and flitting between the dabbling and the let's go in, oh no, maybe I'm not, and so I'm really intrigued to just hear how you navigated through that. Because I think not just me, I think, there's a lot of people that are dabbling in life as well as in business, and perhaps are teetering on the edge of wanting to go all in. And it could be in relationships, it could be in anything. But there's just that underlying fear that is stopping them from doing that. So I would love to just kickstart with just finding out a bit more about what was going on with you when you were going through this stage in your life, what patterns were showing up for you, what fears, and just talk me through kind of how you managed that to start off with.
Yeah, for me, on this particular part of my journey, when I launched Social Treats, it was all around fear from the past. I'd launched businesses previously when I was at uni. I've always been an entrepreneur. Like, I had a business when I was a kid, doing all odd jobs in the village around, doing everything. I did newspaper rounds, picking up leaves, everything, walking dogs. And they never took off. Like, I imported jewelry when I was at uni and started a business then, and nothing really stuck. So when I launched Social Treats, I had this fear of, well, it's never going to work. And I remember my mum had said it to me as well, you're going to start another business. You know how expensive these are and they never work out. And I was like, yes, I am.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing for me. I also didn't feel like I was good enough. This was something that I had taught myself, was social media management and marketing. And when I left England in 2012 to create the life that I wanted, I didn't have any anticipation of being a social media manager or a social media coach at all. I just knew I wanted a different life. And it was through that first experience I actually went teaching that I realized that wasn't going to be the life for me. So I taught myself marketing. So I was like, right, if I can master marketing, that is something I can do from anywhere and create the life that I knew that I wanted. But it was very much self-taught. I taught myself to build websites. I launched a platform, I launched a following. And then when I went to Australia, which is the next stop on my tour, I managed to get a job in marketing, and somebody hired me to do it. And I was like, oh, I'm just taught myself this in the back of Thailand, like on a little thing. So I still had that very much, I'm not good enough yet. I'm not good enough. And eventually when I went and launched my business in 2016, again, I'd been working in marketing for a while then in Australia. I'd been working in and out of marketing for 3.5 years then in Australia. And I launched my business, moved to Asia, and then panicked. I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing. This is a disaster, because there's so much to do when you're in corporate, right? When you're in corporate,
yeah,
doing social media management, it's kind of, I won't say easy, but there's a lot less to think about than running a business when you have to do finances and HR and management and admin and everything else that you have to do as a business owner, that I just didn't factor in. I just thought I'd post some pictures on social media and it would be fine. That's exactly what I did in corporate. and I was like, whoa, this is a lot harder than I had anticipated. And I panicked and moved back to England and got another job in corporate marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they actually moved me to the social media department. So I was an account manager for a marketing agency, and they went, "You're really good at this social media stuff." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Well, yeah, because I've got a side hustle that I hadn't really announced to them that was making good money at the time when I was working on the side." And they were like, "You're really good at social media stuff. We're going to move you to the social media department." I was like, and it was literally after that conversation, it took me 3 months to quit that job, because I was like, right, well, that's the validation I needed. Somebody wanted to pay me in a corporate role to do the same thing I was doing on the side. So I was like, okay, that's enough of that. Thank you very much. I'm out. And I concentrated on building my business. But even then, when I had committed at that point to building my business, I still wasn't 100% sure. And I actually found a job that was remote. So it allowed me to have more time at home, so I could have more time to build my business. And again, I was working in marketing, but it was for a recruitment agency, which is what I'd done in Sydney anyway. But it was remote. So it was easy for me to be able to build the business on the side and again, build my confidence up. And that's when the business side of the income started taking over from my full-time job. And I was like, okay, I'd hired a VA before I quit my job. I had got all of those building blocks, if you like, in place to scale. I just hadn't pushed the button on my actual full-time job. And I got pushed into that as well. That wasn't even voluntarily at that point either. My boss at the time was very into his drugs and alcohol and got quite abusive. And of course, this was a remote role. So he one night sent me a whole bunch of abusive emails. And in the morning, I woke up to those and I just went, I've had enough. I'm going to have to deal with this. I'm just going to go full time in my business.
The universe was pushing you.
Yeah, exactly. And now I look at the time when you're in it, I was like, this is the worst thing ever. Now I look back, I was like, thank you, universe, for giving me the push that I needed, because I wouldn't have done it if all of that hadn't happened.
So what was the biggest thing that you were fearing would happen if you went all in? Because, I mean, was it linked with the fact that you were self-taught, or was it linked with not being good enough? Like, what was the dominant voice in your head that was coming through? And did it change?
It's a combination of having to support myself. So being a single person, I just bought a house, I had a mortgage, and I was like, there is literally nobody that is going to pay my bills if I can't pay my bills. So I was like, I have to be able to support myself. And of course, being in the online space, I'd seen so many people struggling, and I was like, this can't be me. I can't not afford to pay my bills. I can't not afford to pay the mortgage and have a roof over my head. There's no one else to back me up. So that was a big driver for me to make sure that, one, my income was where it needed to be before I quit. And that was the other thing for a mortgage, and to be reapproved for the mortgage, I needed to make a certain amount of money in my business, because again, there was no other income to stack against that. And if I got rejected for a mortgage when I've already got a house, that would have been a disaster. So that was a big driver for me to be like, okay, this has to be successful. And when I finally hit that button, I even had a backup plan, which is really funny because I survive very much on throwing myself into the deep end. So when I hit that button, I said, right, okay, what's the worst that could happen? And if all my clients left me, I would get a job. And I had a figure in my head that I said, right, if it gets to that point, then I need to start looking at a job and getting a job, and I'll just get a bar job or get anything, they'll be fine. So I had that plan, and I hit the enter button and sent off my resignation letter. And then I booked a one-way ferry ticket to Spain because I couldn't get a job there. So I had to make the business work. So I took my dog and we road trip to the south of Spain, where my dad has a place. So I knew I could stay rent-free. I rented out my apartment on my Airbnb, and my dog and I spent a few months down in Spain, because I thought, right, now I can't get a job. Now I just have to make this business work. And I was on my own in Spain, and there was nothing else to do. I didn't know anybody, don't speak Spanish. So I was like, right, this is it. 2 months, I got to figure out how to make this business work. And I came back and I doubled my income in my business. So it worked.
Yeah. And not obviously to the extreme of like going straight over to Spain and stuff, but you sometimes have to take yourself out of the equation of the everyday chaos and distractions, because ultimately I think they were all distractions, weren't they? But you were also, would I be right in thinking that you were also looking for that validation and proof first before you then leapt? And so when you got moved into the social media remote part, and even though your boss wasn't particularly pleasant, you were told that you're really good at it. And so was that what you were searching for?
Yeah, I think I was just as searching to know that I was enough. And that's been something for me the entire time. Like, you're enough, you're fine, you know enough, you can teach, you can consult, you're good enough, you know what you're doing. And that's always been a thing that has struggled for me. And being able to say, okay, somebody wants to hire me, even though I had like 5 clients who were paying me money, there was just somebody else that were like, yep, you're good. I'm like, okay, cool. Okay, good.
Yeah,
I am good. So yeah, it was just that validation, I think.
Yeah. And I think there's nothing wrong with that external validation. And I think so many of us search for that because we like to know that we are good at what we do, and to give us that confidence boost. But what did you do to build the inner confidence that can only come from you? Because, again, a lot of people wait for that inner confidence to come first before they then take action. But the reality is, real inner confidence comes from taking action and getting better and better and more competent at it. And as more competent you are, obviously, the more confident you become. So how did you manage to, you've got external validation that's starting to come through. Was that penetrating into the internal side of you to think, yeah, I can now start to believe in myself, and therefore maybe I could do this? Or did you have to really kind of work on the inner part as well as getting the external?
For me, one thing was client testimonials and listening to people and them getting results. And like, okay, these are people that want to work with me and they're getting the results that I have told them they would get when they work with me. And that was really powerful, and saying, okay, people are getting results from what I'm telling them. This is working for them. I am good enough. This is going to be fine. This is going to be awesome. And one of the things that I actually did with a recent client was she was coming to me with the same issues. I don't know if I'm good enough, this is a disaster. And I was like, heard this story before. So I was like, right, print out and write down everything that has been ever said to you that is a compliment, something that your clients have said to you that is really nice, something that people have feedback if you've got. Print it out or write it down and stick it all over your office space. Put it everywhere so that you are constantly reminded of what other people think of you and the good stuff. And she was like, she the next day, she was like, I've done it, I've printed everything out. And then a week later, she was like, this is amazing. I just keep seeing all of these notes and they make me so happy. And I was like, there you go. And confidence boost. She is now doing fantastic in her business as well as a result. So that was something that really, really helped me, is just listening to people when they're telling you you're good and listening to that side of things.
But you know what, that takes confidence as well. I mean, I love what you shared with your friend. And I often say to my clients about creating brag files of evidence of proof to dispel your beliefs, but also to really celebrate your success. And it is amazing. And then, like you say, having it on your visual every single day allows you to focus on the outcomes that you want. But it's then, for me, like when I first started and I was getting a lot of testimonials coming through, I was reading the testimonials, but I wasn't associating them with me, and that was the work that I'd done. And so I would just like read it and think, oh yeah, that's good, and then go back to my, I'm not good enough, and blah, blah, blah. And it was really hard to then go, they're writing that because of me. Like, everything that we've done has helped them get the results that they were after. That means that I'm really good at at what I do. but I really struggled to create that association. Was it quite easy for you? Because you said, you know, obviously you listened. Did you experience something similar, or did you have, I don't know, a tip or trick that allowed you to absorb it in a way that perhaps I wasn't initially to start off with?
I don't think there's a tip or trick. One thing I would say that has helped me is celebrating everything.
Yeah.
So whether that's my client wins, whether that's my personal wins, and when I say celebrate, I don't just mean go, yay, and pat yourself on the back. I mean, like, actually do something awesome. Like when I first hit my first 5-figure month, for example, I had a bottle of champagne, Veuve Clicquot, in the fridge, ready to go for that entire month. Because I was like, this is happening this month. And I had it in the fridge on ice, ready to go. And as soon as that money dropped in my bank, I was like, yes, I'm opening the champagne. That's it.
Yeah.
And I actually made it into a candle, the bottle that now sits on my desk. So I turned the champagne glass into a candle. So now that is a reminder on my desk every day.
Do you know what? I absolutely love that. I think visual reminders are amazing, but I totally agree with what you've just said about the celebrations, because again, we are so good at clinging to all the stuff that we've done wrong and overanalyzing it and overthinking it and replaying it and just driving ourselves insane with it. But then when we do something good, we go, all right, yeah, next. And we have this tendency to just like brush over it because we don't want to be arrogant, we don't want to be cocky, we don't want and it's just crazy. You know, to celebrate stuff gives you the opportunity to feel successful, and feelings trigger everything. That, you know, they trigger your thoughts, your actions, your results. And if you're almost going, well, yeah, well, that was great, now on to the next thing, you're kind of putting a message out that you're not really that fussed about celebrating the success. But when you stop and you absorb it and you connect to it and you feel it, my God, the impact that has on your confidence, on your motivation, on your focus, on, well, pretty much bloody everything, really, to be fair. And like you said, not just yours, your client's success, and not just massive ones. Like, you know, that was a milestone month for you and the start of growth. But it's even like, you know, acknowledging and celebrating you sending an email that you've put off for the last 3 weeks, or going on and doing a live that you have been putting off, or asking someone out on a date, or applying for that, you know, that promotion, or booking a holiday even though you're scared of flying, you know, whatever it may be. It's like celebrating it.
Yes.
Because it just opens you up, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. One of my clients, she recently had a launch, and I said to her, right, what are you going to celebrate when this launch is a success? And by success, I mean that it's done. Like, I'm not even you're not even connecting to how many clients come off the back of it and the money. I just want you to celebrate that it's over. How are you going to celebrate it? And she jokingly said to me, I'm going to get a cake with my face on it. And I was like, okay, that sounds amazing. I want to see this cake with your face on it. And she sent me a picture a week later, and she was like, I've ordered the cake with my face on it. And I was like, yes. And I got a picture when she picked up the cake the day after her launch with her face right on the front of the cake. She was like, I did it, even though I said it jokingly to start with. She was like, you empowered me to actually go and do it, so I've done it.
Totally. And you know, the thing is, I know this is a podcast, so you can't necessarily see us, but me and you've got beaming smiles on our faces right now because we're thinking about it and talking about it. And that in itself really helps with confidence and for you to feel good. And, you know, when you're struggling with not feeling good enough, or doubting yourself, or, you know, dabbling and then going all in and then dipping your toe in and then pulling it out again, you could invariably, your energy is low because you feel in some way you're letting yourself down and you're not doing what you're meant to be doing, and you feel guilty and you feel frustrated and you feel all of these emotions. But then when you speak about this whole celebration part, it lifts you. And, you know, I'm very much that your life is a reflection of what's going on internally, and we get back what we put out. And if we are feeling like jovial and happy, and in that energy of celebration and success, we will attract so much more of that. And when we're in that, oh God, I can't do this, and it feels really hard, and I'm never going to be as good as so and so, we just attract more examples of that, and the energy is just so different.
Yeah, that's something that a vision board has also helped me massively. And it's funny that yesterday I actually went and test drove the car that's on my vision board.
Oh, wicked.
Yeah, because I wanted to get into the energy. I wanted to feel it. And I have a Tesla on my vision board. Turns out, don't like them. So I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. Now I've got to find a new dream car to put on my vision board. But that's been on my vision board for so long. Wow, and when I went and drove it, I was like, yeah, it's a nice car. But I was like, the boot isn't good for my dog. Like the panels are weird. Like you have to look in the middle. There's no thing in the front. And the wood effect, it was just a bit strange. And it wasn't what I had thought it was going to be when I was looking at my vision board, and how I thought I was going to feel when I was driving in my very own Tesla. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll change that then. That's that.
Yeah.
And I posted about this in my group this morning, actually, in my Facebook group, around how realistic are our goals, and whether this is something that you actually want or you are perceived to want because of the shoulds around you and the world around you that you think you should want. Because a lot of people that I see around goals and stuff, they say, I'm going to live on a beach in a beautiful place and all my family are going to live there. I'm like, have you asked your family if they want to live there?
Yeah.
They probably don't. So why don't you just set a goal for yourself rather than implementing what your lifestyle you
invite them on a holiday?
Yeah, and invite them on holiday to come with you. Because I think so often we put these things on our vision board and they are realistically in your life not what you want, or not what the other people you're imposing them on want either. So I think that's a big thing as well.
It's massive. And actually, I'm a lover of vision boards, and I used to do business ones, and then we used to do family one. And I remember doing this a lot before I had my son, because it took us a long time to get him. And so there was always a positive pregnancy test and an image of a pregnant belly with a man kissing the tummy and stuff. And I remember we put checks on there as well. And my husband works in sales, and he put his dream car, but he also put checks that he wanted to come in every quarter. And literally 1 year to the penny, it all came in. And we would have it above our, in our kitchen, above our chopping board. So every time we were preparing dinner, you would just look at different things. And again, your mind goes where you focus your attention. And so it was incredible. So I'm a huge advocate of that. What you touched on again with about either unrealistic goals but also out of date goals. And again, I think we are all a little bit guilty sometimes of still chasing a goal that we've not quite met yet, without checking in whether we actually still want it. Now, like you with test driving the car, myself and my husband, as I said, we've got one son, but we were trying for a good number of years to have a second child. And my sister is my best friend. She's my everything. There's 2 years apart between us. And with my husband and his sisters, there's 3 years apart between him and his eldest, and 18 months with his middle. And so we always wanted to have a sibling for our son around that sort of time gap. And obviously, as the years were going on and the months were passing and nothing was happening, that time frame was getting bigger and bigger. And I remember dropping him off to nursery, and I was thinking, I'm still trying to fall pregnant, but the dream that we were trying to achieve has gone, because he's 4 now. And if I fall pregnant, he's going to be 5 by the time baby's born. And so does that even fit into the life that we're wanting? Because whenever we spoke about family, it was like, not that I'm saying big age gaps are wrong or right. There is no wrong or right. But for us, it was like, we want him to have someone who's his friend, who he's got a lot of common with, etc., etc. And then we went another year, and then it was like, well, he's 5 now, and if we do that, he's then going to be 6, and suddenly it's almost like having 2 single kids. And I said to my husband, I'm not sure that I want to carry on trying anymore, because we just got into the cycle. Oh, we're not unsuccessful, try again, unsuccessful, try again. I said, because when we look at our life and what we've got and what our son brings to us anyway, what are we actually doing? Because the dream that we're trying to achieve left us a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And is not the dream, you know, even if we fell pregnant, it's not the dream that we're thinking it's going to be, because that's just not going to happen anymore. And it was a bit of a like, wow, I've not actually checked in on this goal, because I was so caught in the fact, well, I've not achieved it yet, so I've got to keep going till I've achieved it, without realizing that it was out of date. And actually we had, all three of us, moved on from that, really.
Yeah.
And
I think that's such
crazy.
an important point, isn't it, to check in with those goals. The other thing I saw, Mel Robbins, the book she came out a while ago now. She's got a new one. She got in the post yesterday, actually.
Oh, me too. I love it.
But it was the 5-second rule. And one thing she said in her book was, when you are looking at a goal, are you prepared to do the things that you need to do to reach that goal? And one thing that was always on my vision board was abs. I exercise. I was like, I really want abs. And she said, and it was abs that she took as the example, actually, as well. And she said, right, abs are made in the kitchen. Think about, if you had those abs, would you, and then look back at your life, would you want to do all the things you'd need to do to get there? And I was like, no, I don't want to give up cake. So okay, scrap that goal.
Scrap that one.
Because I'm never realistically going to want to give up cake or chocolate. I love my food. So I thought, all right, scrap that goal. No abs. I'll just look for a toned, healthy body. And I'll be fine with that. That's achievable for me.
Exactly. And it is about, you know, adapting to the present. And that's why it's so important to check in with yourself so regularly and say, you know, is this still what I want? Am I prepared to actually put my life and soul into this? And is it going to give me the outcomes that I want? And again, I think, you know, these are questions people avoid and say, oh, I haven't got time for that. Or I'll do that at the end of the year when I'm reassessing everything. And then I'll set my new goals at the beginning of the year and then wait 12 months till I reassess them again. And you know, I know it's extremes. There are lots of people that also, you know, check in on their goals, but the reality is it is really important to do that for sure. And then you know, making sure that you're actually working when, you know, time is precious, but if you're using your time to achieve something you actually don't want to achieve anymore, then it's an absolute waste of time. But you know, I've digressed slightly with you because I do want to pull it back a little bit to your business and when you went all in. And obviously I know that you said all of the celebrations, the testimonials, all of that started to really filter in to build your confidence. How did you, because for me, I find the first step is always the hardest, as I think we all know, but then the following months when your resistance is at its highest because you're going against the grain, how did you manage to navigate through that treacle, because that's the little sticky points, to get into your flow where your business has gone strength to strength?
My thing is always having a coach, somebody or a team of people around you. So now I have a good team of staff and contractors that work with me, but also having people that know what you're going through. So I have a good group of friends that are on the online space, and some of them I've never met in real life. But you speak to them every day because they get it. They get what you're going through. They understand the struggles. And people in my physical world don't get half the stuff I'm going through. But having that person to just keep you pushing or keep you going someplace and keep you moving forwards. What's next? When you're launching next? What's happening now for you? What are your targets this month? What are your aims for the quarter? That is really powerful to have somebody there. Just keep going. Yep. Are you still going? Are you still going? You're still okay. And that has been absolutely paramount to my success. My first coach, and I think at the time I didn't realize the implication of my first coach, because she helped me set up all of the groundwork. So everything that I did in my business, she helped me set up all the groundwork. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool, thanks. I worked with her for 3 months and I was like, okay, cool. But now I look back and I'm like, everything that I set up with her is still in place. Everything that I still use today, I set up with her. But at the time, because I was in it, I was like, yeah, all right, fine. That was cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, oh my God, that was so powerful to have everything set up and have those foundation blocks built so that from there on, and that's one thing that I'm passionate about with my clients is like setting up your business on solid foundations. So rather than cutting the corners and not using the software that you should do, or not setting up your business as you should do and paying your taxes and, you know, having all of that bank accounts, all of the boring stuff set up for the foundation of your business means you're not going in full force because you are expecting it to fail if you're not going to pay your taxes, because somebody's going to come after you eventually if you don't do that. And like cutting shortcuts with not paying for the software and trying to find a free version that kind of paper mache together and it sort of works. Those sorts of things, if you don't invest with them to the start, you're just going to end up falling over when you do start getting big and you're not really believing in yourself enough. So I think having a coach and investing in the software or the tech or whatever it is that you need, that the next version of you would need, rather than where you are now, has been huge. And that's something that I reflect on quite often is, what would I do if I was already the next version of myself? So that's why I went to test drive the car yesterday. I'm going into a limited company at the moment because the next version of myself is going to be earning 6-7 figures next year. So I'm like, right, okay, I need to change the company structure. I'm going to get myself a company car, and this, because that's the next version of me. And I'm already making those changes now so that I'm ready.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And this is what I teach with all my clients too. It's because we're so focused often on the doing that we forget on who we need to be. And it's like you say, it's stepping into that next level version of yourself first. Because again, you know, you see people step into that next level, but mentally they're still on the other level. And so they sabotage. Whether it's in promotion or with business or whatever. And you have to almost re-educate your mind to get there first, because the doing part, we're all pretty wired at, we know how to do things, but it's our mental game that will then go, no, or yes, keep going. So I absolutely love what you're saying here. It's, you know, it's amazing. What I would love to know though with you is, do you ever stumble across any resistance when you're up leveling mentally into being your next version of yourself? And how do you navigate through that? Because I hear a lot of people say, oh, I feel a fraud if I do that, or I can't wholeheartedly believe in myself being the 6-7 figure like business owner yet because my bank balance doesn't represent that. How do you navigate through that part?
I came across this recently because I was reading a book by Amanda Francis, and if you haven't heard of her, she is a money manifestation coach. And so I was reading a book, and throughout the book is a lot of journaling prompts and things like that to go through. So I was actively going through the book. And when I say active, I stop and do all the journaling prompts rather than just read the book. I know some people will read the book and I'll go back. I never go back. So I do it all the way through. And I was doing that, and this came up, and one of the things was a Tesla, and I was like, oh, I can't have that because it's really expensive, and you know, I don't really need one because they're just fun cars, aren't they? And I just think, oh, I don't really need it. But it was going through those journaling prompts and that active writing down what you want. I was like, well, why not? Why not? And I met somebody recently, and he said to me, I've just bought a house with a pool. Not that I need one, I just want one. And I was like, yes, that's the universe reminding me you can have whatever you want. Just because you want it is reason enough. And I was like, yes. So that was journaling prompts massively help with that mindset and shift of knowing. And the thing is, not listening to the people around you is often one of the things that's going to help you get through. Because I took my dad for a test with the Tesla drive yesterday. He's like, it's a very expensive car, and I was like, oh well, just make more money and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
He's like, well, you can do that. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll just make more money next year and I'll pay for it. It's fine, not an issue.
Yeah.
That's a non-starter. If I want it, I can have it.
I love that.
But that's the thing about not taking that sort of stuff to heart, and that has taken time.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just buy it, it's fine. I'll get the money. And but if I'd have let that get to me, and then I'd be like, oh well, maybe I'll just buy a cheaper car and it's fine, it'll work, it'll be the same. Whereas I'm like, no, I want it so I can have it.
And it's so easy to listen, especially if it's loved ones who are close to you and, you know, they want to protect you and all of that, and you think, oh, well, they know me best, and etc. And this is something for me in the last, I would say probably in the last 4 months. My coach said to me, would you take advice on how to swim from someone who couldn't swim? No. So why are you listening to your family who don't run a business give you advice on how to run your business? And it's not to say that they don't love me and they don't support me, of course they do, but they don't understand my business. Like, me and you are sitting there chatting and I'm like, yes, everything that you're saying, like, oh my God, same here. But they're not in our world, and so they're not going to understand. And I think it's a really good reminder, because often we ask people because, you know, you want their opinion and you value their opinion because they're your friends and you want them involved in your life. But the reality is they can't give you the same opinion as a coach or someone who's in the industry who understands what you're talking about. So I do think that that's really, really important. And then also going back to Mel Robbins, I just started her High Five Habit book last night. Oh, she's amazing. But anyway, she was then talking about, and it is just so true, you know, this whole power of being your own cheerleader and hearing you say, you know, well, I'll just make more money and I can do it. And your friends who've got the swimming pool, I just wanted it, so I had it. And if your friend said to you, oh, you know, I really want a Tesla, you'll be like, go for it. Oh my God, they're amazing. And you'd really encourage them. And, you know, she was saying like how the way that we speak to everybody and they come to you and you go, oh my God, that's just brilliant. Or, you know, I can really see you doing that. And you never have those conversations with yourself going like, yeah, Em, definitely, that's amazing. I definitely see you do that. And it's like, well, why not? Why would I not? When I big up so many other people, do I not big up myself? And there's nothing wrong with doing it. And actually just reading her say that, my energy was getting higher and higher and higher. And I was like, oh my God, yes. And I am going to high five myself in the mirror. And I do think I'm awesome. And it just, again, it's that whole vibration, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell my clients all the time that as an entrepreneur, especially if you're getting visible, sharing content and being a person of influence, nobody is going to blow your own trumpet. Like, nobody's going to blow the trumpet for you. You have to do it for yourself, because one, your clients aren't going to know that you're awesome if you don't tell them you're awesome, because nobody else is going to do it. And two, you have to be the person standing up, because you don't have a boss going, yay, well done, gold sticker. You have to do it for yourself, because otherwise you're just constantly facing that battle. And that's when people don't get clients, or they come back to me and they're like, nothing's working and I don't know why. I'm like, you haven't told anybody you do anything awesome yet. You're just going, buy from me because I said so. Nobody's sharing how awesome they are and the results they're getting for their clients and what they're doing, because they need to blow their own trumpet, and they need to be the one that's shouting for themselves and creating that content that's going to share that as well, not just for their own mindset and everything else, but that's going to help blow up your business too.
And it's reframing it that it's not about us, isn't it, as well? It's like, this isn't about me blowing my own trumpet, this is about showing you what you can have. And again, I think, you know, that was a really powerful shift for me, because I've been in sales for like before I was running my business, I was in sales for 13 years and I loved selling, and I'm brilliant at sales because it was a product that wasn't directly linked to me. Move me into this and it's like, shit, I'm selling myself, was how I was originally thinking about it. And I'm like, no, I've got to take myself out of the equation. I'm selling a service that's going to transform lives. My face just happens to be attached to it, but the reality is I'm selling a service. And I had to detach from that. And so when people were saying no, it wasn't a personal no to me, it was a personal no to them, because they weren't ready to do what they needed to do. And that's massive, because we do take rejection personally, whoever you are, and you're like, because we want to be loved and we want to be accepted and all of that. But I think, it's learning how to manage it. And that's not to say there's not some days where I think, God, they've just said no to me, and I'm like, no, they're saying no to themselves. That you have to remind yourself, don't you?
I tell my clients about numbers. So like I always say, have multiple conversations. The more conversations you have, the more no's you're going to get, the more used to that you're going to get, but the more yeses you'll get. And the less you will hold on to that one person. If you have one conversation a day, you're going to hold on to that person so tight, because you're like, this person has to say yes, because this is the only person I've spoken to in like a week about my offer. And then they're going, oh God, no, you sound desperate, and they don't want to do it. And oh my goodness. Whereas if you had 20 conversations that day, then whether that one person signs up with you or not, you're like, it's fine. And then they come back and go, yeah, I'm in. You're like, great, winning. Okay, awesome. But you've had 19 other no's that day. But that just becomes normal then. You're like, okay, next day, 20 new conversations. So I always put it down to numbers. Have lots and lots and lots of conversations. You'll get used to the no. And at first it will hurt. You'll be like, damn it. But the more no's you get, the closer you get to yeses.
Well, exactly. I mean, there's that picture of the people in a mine, and like they're literally right at the next opening, and they're about, I don't know, half a foot from it, and they give up and go, this isn't working, and go back. And if they could only see that if they just whacked it one or two more times, they would have got that entrance. And so many people give up just as they're on the cusp. And unfortunately, we're not fortune tellers, and we can't see what's in front of us. But what I always say in that moment, and you might be the same or might be different, is if your gut's still telling you to hang on in there, because there's been, I tell you, in the years that I've done it so many times, it would have been really easy to give up on my business. And to just go, do you know what, I just can't do it. And there's even been days where I've sat in the notion of, I am going to give up. And every single time I have, my intuition has told me just to keep going. And even if it is just tiny, and again, this is, if anyone is not necessarily looking to, to give up or to move in that direction, and you're just like, oh, I just don't know, and there's something in you that's just telling you to keep going, that is all you need. Because that small thing will grow the more confident you are and whatever. But if you're sitting in something and you're deciding, right, time to give up or time to keep going, and you're really aware of yourself and you tapped into your body, you're going to be able to know wholeheartedly which one you're meant to do based on your gut reaction. And I just think, that's so powerful, is building that awareness and getting to know yourself, isn't it? And just trusting that it could be 21 calls tomorrow that give you a yes, but then on Friday it might be 3. You just don't know. And to mark again, and to mark the yeses and celebrate them, rather than, well, I only got 1 yes out of 20 calls. But that 1 yes is all you need.
I have some of my clients come to me and they're like, well, I didn't sign 3 people. I'm like, but you signed 2, didn't you? And they're like, well, yeah. I'm like, well, celebrate that then. Like, you still signed people. That's the key thing here. Or they'll come to me and they're like, oh, I need 10 people. I'm like, what? Last week you needed 5. Yeah, well, I got those. But, so have you taken the time to celebrate that, or we're just moving on to the next goal now? I'm like, you hit your target. You got the 5 people. Why now do you suddenly need 10? Like, I'm all for goals, but can we take a moment and be like, celebrate the 5 that you did get, because that's awesome. You set a target, you smashed it. Totally.
And this is all like such simple things as well, isn't it? And again, we try to overcomplicate everything, and we try and make it all big and fancy and this, that, and the other. But the reality is, like, just hearing you speak throughout your whole journey, it's about checking in with your goals, having those honest conversations, listening to what people are saying, celebrating success. None of these things cost money.
Nope.
To listen, to see, to absorb, and to feel. They're amazing things that we just brush over, and they don't cost us a penny, but can make us thousands.
Absolutely.
And
I think one of the important things is knowing your numbers and knowing what you need to achieve. So for me, for example, when I take a step back from my business and I look at, okay, how many people do I need to sign up, and what does that look like in terms of time, and how much time do I want to spend on my business? Because that's something a lot of people don't take into consideration either. They're like, oh, I want a 6-figure business, but I'm only charging like £90 for a full day session with me or something. I think, how's that going to work? You're going to run out of time. So taking that into consideration as well, and then working on those numbers, and then going, okay, right, I only need 7 people, or I only need 10 people, and then I get to work 20 hours a week or whatever it is, and working on that basis, and just knowing those numbers and being like, okay, because I think often we look around and we're like, oh, well, they've got this much, and then when you hit those targets, you're like, well, I should want more because so-and-so has got more and she's doing this. And then you think, oh, I need to change it and go over there and do that because them. And when you look back at what you've done, you're like, well, actually, it was successful anyways. I hit the goals that I said I was going to hit, and I'm making the money I was going to make. But then the comparisonitis just gets the better of you, and you're like, oh, well, maybe I should do that instead. And you have to go back to your why and your reason for doing business.
100%. You touched on two amazing things there. Comparisonitis. Have you read that book?
No.
That's a great book. That's a good book. Is it by Melissa Ambrosi or something like that? Brilliant book. But yeah, it's that whole comparison part, and then coming out of your own lane and going into what you feel that you should be doing. This is what led me to this podcast right now, is because I was like, I had the summer break off with my son. For me, that's a non-negotiable. That's success. That means I get to spend precious time that I don't get back with my son and still run a business. But in that time, I did then reflect, and I was like, I'm conforming, I'm comparing, I don't like where I'm going, I've lost my voice, I'm not a conformist normally. And everything just felt hard and icky. And it was then I was like, well, why am I doing my business? Like you said, second point, know your why. Why am I doing this? And when I came up with all the reasons why I was doing it, it was not in alignment with where my business was going. And it was like, my past has always led me and driven my business. I've always believed that everything happens for a reason. And I've always wanted to be a voice of inspiration, and to also let people know they're not alone and that they're not misunderstood. And yet where my business was heading, although there were elements of that for sure, it wasn't authentically 100% happening. And I was like, no. And I was speaking to family, and I was like, I've always wanted to do this and this. And I'm sat there thinking, why aren't you then? Why are you doing that if you really want to do this? And that's where I was then like, do you know what? I'm going to relaunch the podcast, and I'm going to really focus it on self-doubt, because let's be honest, the last 18 months have been challenging for everyone, and it's just reached a whole nother level. It's something that we all suffer with, and that I'm very passionate about. And the response was amazing. And that's all, things then become easier when you're in alignment. And again, that's awareness. If things are hard, is there a message that you're not seeing?
Yeah.
And because it will keep slapping you on the face until, you should have, the universe is like, no, you keep wanting to go in, and now you're dabbling and coming back out again. I'm going to throw an asshole of a boss at you, and that's going to make you go, right, sod it, I'm finally ready.
Yeah.
But we get those little tests, don't we, to push you into the direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm grateful for him. I'm like, thank you. And
he's being an asshole.
Yeah, and he actually reached out fairly recently, and he's clean now, and he was like, oh, I just want to say thank you for everything you did for my business, and I shouldn't have done what I did, and I'm sorry. And I was like, okay. He's like, do you want to have a chat about coming back? I'm like, nope. Good.
Yeah. Well, everything happens for a reason. Exactly. And we might not like it at the time, but somewhere in there is a nugget that we need to use. Absolutely. Yeah, that makes us who we are. It's been amazing chatting to you. There's literally been so many awesome nuggets. that have filtered throughout this, are there any lasting tips that you just want to share with people, or one defining thing that really helped you, or whatever that you want to just kind of finish the conversation with?
I think just go for it. Whatever it is that's holding you back, I have a philosophy of sure, why not? Just somebody asked me a question, I go, sure, why not? That's how I end up traveling for 5 years. I end up in Australia because somebody said to me, do you want to come to Australia with me? I'm like, sure, okay, why not?
Yeah.
Seems like a fun thing to do. So pretty much how I've lived my life, just saying yes to opportunities. And things have come up. I'm now a Facebook lead trainer because I said yes, and I ended up in Dublin once, paid by Facebook, 3-day conference, and people go, how did you do that? How have you become so pally with Facebook? I'm like, no idea. I said yes to a few things once.
Yeah.
Didn't ask any questions, just went, sure, okay. Yeah. You can fly me to Dublin if you want. And then the rest went from there. So if there's anything that somebody asks you to do and you're like, oh, I don't know, just say yes. That's what's the worst
say yes
and
happen. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Exactly. Love that. It's been amazing having you on here. And I say this at the end of everyone, I really could have spoken for hours, but I really could have spoken for hours. And that's me being genuine. Like, everyone's like, oh, but maybe you say that at the end, but that's true. Like, every single person I'm meeting at the moment is so inspiring on so many different levels, and there's so many things that all of us can learn. And I think, we've never learned enough. There's always more. And I just find people's stories and people in general so intriguing. And sometimes you might have heard it before, but you finally listen to it in a way that then penetrates into you, and you start to go, do you know what? I get it now. I totally get it now. And so I really, really love that. So thank you so much for being a part of the show. And how can people stay in touch with you or follow you moving forward?
Yeah, so they can connect with me on Facebook. I have a Facebook group called Scaling with Deasha. They can check out my podcast, Scaling with Deasha, as well. And they can connect with me on Instagram at Social Treats.
Awesome. Well, it's been amazing. So thank you so much. And thank you everyone for listening. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thanks.